When Debbie and I decided to move 2,000 miles away out into the middle of nowhere, into the middle of the woods, in basically complete privacy, we have silence, peace, serenity. I didn't know where I was going to put my audio room or my audio equipment. Now, some of it I let go before the move. Some of it wouldn't fit in this smaller location. But for now, I have a temporary space where I set up a Name Nova integrated amplifier and a couple of cool speakers that I have back here that I want to talk about today. Now, these are interesting bookshelf speakers. They're not your typical bookshelf speakers. First of all, they look very, very classy. They have a really, really nice finish and design about them. They have a curved front baffle, and this really aids in allowing the music to form seemingly in space in front of the speakers. They're very deep. These are bookshelf speakers, but they're very deep. They have some depth. And because of that, they do make a dedicated stand for the speakers that really, in my opinion, are a must buy with the speakers. And there's a reason for that. Now, the speakers are unusual. They look very modern and very classy, but a lot of people may look at them and feel a little bit strange because they look like a tripod. But there is some really cool tech involved in the way these speakers were designed with these stands. First of all, the stands, they do look like a tripod, but when you attach them to the speaker on the bottom will screw into the stand, and the speaker has springs in the base. There's a little base part in the speaker, not the whole bottom, and when that is attached to the stand, basically what it does, I'm not going to go over all the details, but the end result is you will have zero colorations from vibration. You're not going to have any vibrations come into play with your speakers. Also, the way the speakers are constructed, there is zero coloration. So there's no box coloration that you hear with many other speakers out there. Sometimes when you buy a pair of speakers and you plug them in, you're hearing a little bit of the cabinet that goes along with it. Now, these cabinets, if you cut them apart, they kind of look like a fancy triple layer cake, and in between you will see this gel that has been placed in between the layers, kind of sandwiched. And that really helps to keep the cabinets inert and to keep, again, colorations and vibrations away from your music. When I turned these on, I hooked them up to a Name Atom, a little Name Atom, and then also a Name Nova, two pieces that I feel are some of the best pieces ever made for hi-fi, especially in this day and age when everything is connected to the internet and everything involves streaming. These are basically plug in, get up and go within 3 to 4 minutes, and they sound amazingly good. They sound beautiful, actually. They have the Name sound. Now, they're not going to give you all of that depth as a higher end Name separates would or a $30,000 amplifier. But for the money, these things can power just about any speaker out there, and they power these C300s very well. I will say the Name Nova is what I chose to evaluate these with, because the Nova really makes them open up and just sound surreal at times. And I'll talk a little bit about what these sound like. Now, when you attach these to the stands and hook it up and press play on some of your favorite music, you're going to notice something. These are really speakers that are, I've heard other reviewers mention this about these, quiet, because you're not hearing vibrations and colorations. And even if you think you don't hear those in your current speakers, you probably do. Just like when you run a tube amp, you hear distortion, but it's pleasing and you don't even realize you're hearing distortion. But when you hear these and hook these up, they're going to sound a little different. It's going to give a different reaction from your brain when you hear these. They sound so clean. so smooth, so transparent, dynamic, very spacious, very airy, and the sound, when you're listening, really does appear to be emitting from space around the speakers. So I could look at these speakers as they're playing and I cannot hear sound coming from the drivers. The sound appears that it's coming from space in front of the speakers or in the middle of the speakers, and that's a sign of a really, really good speaker design. And these do that stuff. These speakers do the audiophile thing better than any other bookshelf I've heard under, I'd say, $12,000. Now these speakers are $41.99 with the stands. They're not cheap, but they are quality construction. And the interesting thing is Q Acoustics is more known for their lower end, I don't want to say lower end speakers, but inexpensive speakers. You know, this is really their flagship product and they wanted to show what they can do. They have the Q500 tower speakers. If you're into hi-fi, into the audiophile stuff, you are going to love these speakers, but at the same time, they remain musical. Your brain's not there trying to pick apart all the sounds. Now, the last speaker I reviewed was the JBL L82s, and those were really fun speakers. Those are meant to rock and roll. Those are meant to play anything you want to play through them, and they just sound really good, right? Hit you in the chest kind of good. These are kind of the opposite kind of speakers. These are more delicate. These will not do as good with hard rock or heavy metal because the bass performance on these is a little light. They're a little lightweight, but in some ways that's a good thing because in a room like this, which is bigger than my last room, I don't hear any boom, I don't hear any bloat, I don't hear a thickness or chestiness in the mid-range where that vocal region lies in that mid-range. As far as bottom end room shaking bass, these are not going to do it unless you add a subwoofer, which is something you can do. But I am not a subwoofer guy. I prefer to listen to speakers as they're designed, as they're meant to be heard without trying to configure a sub to blend with them perfectly. But on their own, you don't need a sub with them as long as you're not looking for seismic room shattering bass. That's one thing these will not do. But what they do have in the bass department, I think they are in the mid 50s hertz for bass response, so not very low at all. But it's very pleasing, it's very tight. You hear the bass line super clean. In fact, I don't remember when I heard bass this clean. There's plenty of detail from the treble, but at the same time they sound smooth, they sound neutral. They sound a little relaxed at times, but the presentation is airy, spaciousness, three-dimensional, holographic, and the vocals can be really eerie at times.
Well, late over in the evening, I feel like blowing my horn. Well, I woke up this morning, all I had was gone, you know, late over in the evening. I feel like blowing my lonesome horn. And I will be king, and you will be queen. Though nothing will drive them away, we can beat them forever and ever.
The cool thing about these speakers is if you want to adjust the treble, say you have a lively room with very little furniture, hardwood floors, windows, you might want to tone that treble down. Now there's a jumper on the back of each speaker, and that jumper is included in the box. If you take away the jumper, I've noticed, you're getting the least amount of treble energy, but it's still plenty. It's still enough to give you detail and snap and that air. If you're in a room that's carpeted, has a lot of furniture, right? You might want to put that jumper into the first position where it'll liven up the treble a little bit because again, our room makes all the difference in the world. The number one thing with hi-fi, with serious 2-channel audio listening is the room. We're hearing the room. And the beautiful thing about these is I don't really hear the room. And I think it's partly due to not only the way you can adjust the treble, that's a little different, but the stands again, and the way the speakers are built to avoid any vibrations and any colorations coming into the music. So you're hearing a really neutral presentation of the music. These excel with jazz, vocal, anything with acoustic music. I was listening to some acoustic instrumental, and wow, it was pretty breathtaking actually. Now, if I was to think about the cons of these speakers, and there are a couple of cons. If you want to listen in the wee hours of the morning and place that volume control on 5 or 6, they're going to lose some of their life. They're going to lose some of that bass, and they're going to sound thin at that point. These like to be played loud, and I played them really loud, and they never distorted. They never sounded like they were straining. They didn't get harsh and tinny. They just sounded as good as they did at mid-volume, just louder. But when you go really low, they can get a little thin. They still give you that imaging and that sound stage, but they're just lacking a little bit of bass. And that's the other thing. I wish they had a little bit more bass performance out of them. I wish they dug a little bit deeper. I think if they went a little bit deeper, that would have made them just about the perfect bookshelf loudspeaker. But as it is, you know, we can never get a perfect loudspeaker. And sound is subjective. What I like, you may not like. What I don't like, you may love. So I'm just giving you my experience in my room of these Q Acoustics C300s. As compared to some other speakers, like say for example the Dynaudio Special 40, which I love, the Dynaudios are a little thicker sounding. They sound a little more compressed. I mean, these sound as wide open as a speaker gets. I've heard speakers up to $40,000, and these sound more open than those did. So the Special 40s are a little more compressed sounding, a little flatter in comparison only. And the Dynaudios are a little thicker, have a little more meat on the bones. But these are more spacious, more airy, more three-dimensional than the Special 40s. If you're interested or you want to know more, there's a link in the description below, and it's not an affiliate link. I don't make any money from this. As a matter of fact, I make zero from this video. So I just want to tell you what I like, what I've been listening to, and they've been really, really good, guys. I actually consider these speakers as being special. They're a very special speaker because it's rare to get this kind of performance in a $4,000 bookshelf speaker. Usually you hear this kind of performance in like an $8,000 speaker, and if these had a little bit more bass, these would be up to a $15,000 bookshelf speaker. So I really loved the C300s. If you're interested, take a look at them yourself, check them out, try to demo them if you can, or find a way to listen to them and see what you think. So thanks for watching. If you like what I do, thumbs up and subscribe, and I will see you next time. Bye.